Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today I'll be covering a response by Dex Van der Wel to my comment on his video. So basically this is his video where it is Christian reads the Quran episode 4. I have made the reaction video to this. In listening through and at the end of reacting, I make this comment here. I am actually interested to know what is it about the Bible that convinced you that it is from God / endorsed by God / inspired by God, question mark. In bracket, given that you asked the question about the Quran, because he posed that question. Why do Muslim believe the Quran is the word of God? And I'm just interested because he posed that discussion. What about you? Why do you believe that the Bible is the word of God, or endorsed by God, or inspired by God? So let's take a look at his response and see what I can understand from that. Hey, fair question. In the future, I would love to do a Bible versus Quran series talking about how we can test each other. I think that would be a lot of fun. So meaning, I think this test is to test whether each of the holy book claim is true or which is the truth, right? I think. Overall, I think the tests are similar. I'm not sure. I think similar between the Bible and the Quran. So he assumed the Quran is tested in the same way. Prophecy in the Old Testament and the New Testament, clear prediction about the future that came to fruition, a huge test, and have convinced me that the Bible is more than just human words. That is interesting in the sense that the Quran is seen as the same in this aspect, in the sense that there are predictions that, how can a human being know that if this is being made by human beings? But on top of that, also there are like scientific discoveries that only recently being discovered, and people point out that how can a human being 1400 years ago know about this? So it is interesting if both claims are true, meaning that okay, there are elements, let's take both claims are true, right? The elements that Christian found in the Bible that says, okay, this must have been from God. How can human being know this? And in the Quran you found similar thing. Can both be true? Well, both in totality, Bible and the Quran cannot be true at the same time, because they point in contradicting direction in many fundamental things. So both cannot be true in totality. But can the Quran and the Bible both have element of truth in it, meaning element from God in it? Right? For example, if something from the Quran is truly from God, even though not the whole thing is from God, or something from the Bible is actually from God, even though not the whole thing is from God, is it possible? It is, right? It is. It can be. There are plausible scenario where that can be a true reality, right? Meaning that partially it is from God, meaning that something from God still survive, or even though many other verses are no longer, the truth. That theoretically can be argued about both texts, right? So again, I'm not rejecting what he says here, in the sense that it's plausible that something from God still remaining in the Bible, and hence he find that this part here cannot be from human being. It doesn't make sense if this is from human being, hence this is from God, right? But in totality, then we have to extend further. I would say that not only that it have to have something in that nature, it also have to have zero things that can be pointed out that if this is from God, how can it say this, right? It should have zero of those things. Anyway, continue on. Next he says, I would also say the teaching and truth claims in general show insights into the universe that could only come from a divine author. Okay, this is similar point as I mentioned before. So okay, the Bible explains reality in a way that is consistent with how I experienced it. as a Muslim or any other Muslim, they would say that they feel the same way with the Quran. So can both have this element? I think it can. It possibly can, as I mentioned earlier, right? Meaning there can be portion of it that is from divine authorship or divine information that you can relate from experience. But the biggest reason is Jesus. This is where I find it interesting. But the biggest reason is Jesus. Okay, how so? I think Jesus is God in the flesh and affirmed the Old Testament, and the New Testament comes from those who followed Jesus. So I think that's staggered there. He thinks Jesus is God in flesh, and how he know that? He affirmed the Old Testament. So I think that's the first layer, meaning because Jesus affirmed Old Testament, hence he is taught, or he is accepted as just God in flesh. And afterwards, after that is accepted, the New Testament comes from those who followed Jesus, meaning that because the follower of Jesus should definitely say the truth about Jesus, perhaps, hence he accept the remaining part of the Bible. I think that's the chronology. So I'm going to follow the scriptures that he clearly affirmed. Now in this part, I think it is interesting in the sense that I'm not fully understand where the starting point of this logic and how it concludes towards the end that the Bible is indeed the truth, accepted as the truth. I think some atheist or someone may also ask whether this is a circular argument, because you can only know, or you can only get the idea that Jesus is God in flesh or something like that if you have the Bible in the first place, right? So the Bible point out that Jesus is God in the flesh. But if believing Jesus as God in flesh is the reason you believe in the Bible, then wouldn't that be a circular reasoning? That's my question to Dax, or to you even, especially when he says the biggest reason, meaning he make this and this, right, which may not declared as the biggest reason, because Muslim can say the same thing about the Quran as well, and you cannot deny that being possible. But so the biggest reason is here, but my question is this becoming a secular reasoning, or do I miss something that it's not actually a secular reasoning, but I miss how it is formulated? So that's my question. I would post here as well. I think when I have posted this video, I put the link here. I would like to understand further what he meant by that, and of course I would appreciate as well if you are a Christian and you can explain or add on to what he have said from your own perspective, because this is Dax van der Wel's perspective on why he accepted the Bible as the word of God, or endorsed by God or inspired by God. Anyway, what say you? Feel free to comment. Thank you for watching. See you next time.